Well, looky here. It's week 12 of What Happened on My Universe mode! And as always, we begin with Raw, which was in Orlando, Florida, TNA Town. We began with a special US title match, as the Conqueror, Curtis Axel, got a shot against Dean Ambrose. And despite Dean Ambrose hitting his little rope back clothesline thing there, the opening was all Curtis Axel. It opened up a bit in the middle though, as Dean Ambrose hit that suplex, and then dived to the outside onto Curtis Axel. The match neared its conclusion and it looked like Curtis Axel was gonna get the win and perhaps become the new champion. But a clothesline and a dirty deeds later, Dean Ambrose was retaining the US Championship. Match number 2 was Kane versus Kane, or Good Kane versus Bray Wyatt's Kane. And it was all going swimmingly for Good Kane until he decided to dive at Bray Wyatt. Despite missing Wyatt, he managed to get the advantage back, but by the time he was in the ring, Bad Kane was waiting for him. He'd hit a chokeslam, but it didn't beat him. And Kane got back up, hit a big boot, hit his diving clothesline and hit his own chokeslam on Bad Kane for the win, meaning Good Kane is good, Bad Kane is bad. In hopefully what will be their last match on Raw for a while, AJ Lee took on Brie Bella as their feud nears an end, and it was quite the open match, a bit like the early efforts that almost won Match of the Week occasionally. Brie Bella gained control when the match headed to the outside as she hit a Northern Light suplex. But back in the ring, AJ Lee dived in her face, hit an SAE DDT and a Shining Wizard for the victory, heading into Money in the Bank. Roman Reigns was looking all pumped as he turned up for his submission match against Randy Orton. Randy Orton, though, came in a sneaking and attacked him from behind. He then hit several big moves to his head, which made no difference when he eventually made him tap out with an abdominal stretch. Good to see a punt to the head occasionally though. It was time for Raw's main event, and the WWE Champion Brock Lesnar took on Jack Swagger, who was accompanied by Sheamus, who Brock Lesnar is feuding with. So it made sense. Now Brock Lesnar demolished Jack Swagger, but couldn't resist popping to the outside and hitting a few German suplexes on Sheamus. This distraction was just what Jack Swagger needed to hit a couple of moves on Brock Lesnar. It wasn't that effective though, as soon as he got up, he popped him up for an F5 and took him down again. As he went for the pin, Sheamus got up on the apron and got in the referee's way, which just enraged Brock, and he just went and smashed everyone. Him and Jack Swagger traded moves after a while, but once they went back to the outside, Sheamus got involved again. And while Brock Lesnar was busy German suplexing the Celtic Warrior, Jack Swagger was in the ring, winning the match by countout. We were in Memphis, Tennessee for main event, and continuing the little series of matches between the tag champions and their next opponents, Sting took on Lex Luger. Once again, both men had their respective partners at ringside, but this time they weren't getting involved, and it was a nice quick easy match. Because once Lex Luger hit his forearm knockout that didn't knock out Sting, Sting hit a tombstone piledriver and won the match. So, after Lex Luger's first defeat in this universe mode, we had another normal singles match as European Champion Raven took on Booker T. And it began open, just like the other one. And it was quick and simple, with spinebusters being shared by both. The match continued to be open until Booker T hit the bookend, and followed it with a scissor kick, which gave him the victory over the European Champion. Possible European title match in the future? You never know. Next up, tag team partners collided, as Mr. Perfect took on Kevin Nash. Once again we had an open match, and neither man was holding back against their own partner. A knockout punch there from Kevin Nash, and then Mr. Perfect did the Curtis Axel move, which no one knows the name of. The match ended though when a jackknife was hit by Kevin Nash. Mr. Perfect didn't appreciate it though, and walked out on his partner. The Shawn Michaels Batista feud continued now with a last man standing match, and Batista had a tactic here. get Shawn Michaels on the outside and put him through a table. Now, despite Shawn Michaels' attempts to stop this happening, it did. After a couple of chair shots, of course. So Batista put him through the table, thinking it would make it an easy win. It didn't though, as Shawn Michaels got up and super kicked him. It didn't keep Batista down, but it showed Shawn Michaels was still fighting. Batista did win eventually, but it wasn't as easy as he hoped. Now, main events! Main event! And for the second week in a row, what's our main event? As Triple H took on The Undertaker. Surprisingly, this match was quite short. Now, this could be because Raw went on for ages and I wanted to keep the video time down, but you know, let's blame what to blame. The Undertaker got the win with this chokeslam and then a tombstone, which made him #1 contender for the WWE title. Now for the future, and a new era for the future, as we headed to New Orleans, Louisiana for NXT, and the new champion, Finn Balor, as he took on Tim Vicer. Now, just because Finn Balor is the new champion, they weren't going to give him a jobber for his first match. And Tim Vicer gave him the fight of his life. But once he hit this drive-by kick, there was no going back. It was all Balor. Culminating in the double foot stomp from the top rope. The Rosebuds were out in force, as Adam Rose took on the newly relegated from SmackDown, Fandango. The match was open to begin with, but once it headed outside, Fandango took control, hitting his Russian leg sweep. Adam Rose tried to come back, but as it neared its end, it was thwarted. He did hit a couple of moves, but at the end, it was a Fandango leg drop that won it, and then he said his name. Next on NXT, it was the debut of JBL, as he took on Bo Dallas. And it was once again an open match. We've got a running theme today. This was a truly wide open match. You couldn't tell who was going to win at all. Until Bo Dallas hit his last move, a neckbreaker, then it was the beginning of the end. Eventually JBL would hit a clothesline from hell to get the 1-2-3. Relegated from Raw, R-Truth teamed up with Xavier Woods to take on the Ascension. And it wasn't R-Truth's day, as he got destroyed by the Ascension. With double team moves and even a proper curb stomp, not that Seth Rollins version. Xavier Woods got in the ring and tried to get the advantage, but it didn't last very long, and Connor would take him down, and then they'd hit the Fall of Man for the win. The NXT main event pit Mojo Rawley against Bam Bam Bigelow, but before Bam Bam could get to the ring, Finlay was back after his defeat at NXT TakeOver. And Bam Bam just wasn't ready for it, as Mojo took advantage, and we realised that Mojo Rawley doesn't have a moveset. I think I better change that next time. Mojo won, and then Finlay was back, beating him down. And Mojo was having none of it. He popped back in the ring and saved Bam Bam this time, taking Finlay out. The show ended with Mojo and Bam Bam left standing, which led us to SmackDown in Washington DC, and we began with Big E taking on The Miz in a short as hell match. But it was open, like everything else this week. It was ended, and Big E hit the big ending for the win. This match was followed by a tag team contest between the Usos and Darren Young and his mystery partner. But who could it be? Why, it's recently promoted from NXT Titus O'Neil. The Primetime Players are back. Despite this beautiful double team move, this match continued the Week 12 tradition of being fairly open. Both teams hitting tremendous double team moves as well. The teams traded blows until Titus O'Neil hit the Clash of the Titus to give the Primetime Players a return victory and a handshake for the fans. Now World Champion Alberto Del Rio took on the Big Show in an Extreme Rules match. Could Alberto Del Rio keep the Giant down? Well, not if the Big Show had anything to do with it, even going so far as to knocking him off the top of the ladder. Alberto Del Rio got a bit of advantage in the middle and gave him a sledgehammer shot. Despite Del Rio hitting this DDT, Big Show ended the match with a knockout punch. He offered his hand in friendship after the match, but Alberto Del Rio said no and punched him in the balls. Now, Mark Henry took on Dolph Ziggler in the next match. However, just like Finlay on Bam Bam Bigelow on NXT, Cesaro popped up to spoil the show, leaving Dolph Ziggler with no chance against the world's strongest man. He would eventually finish it with the world's strongest slam, of course. After the match, Cesaro got on the stage and started pointing at Dolph Ziggler, while Dolph Ziggler stood up, telling him to come get some. Which leaves us with the SmackDown main event. The Wyatt family versus the Brotherhood, again, for the 9th time in 8 weeks. And yet this storyline has had no cutscenes whatsoever. So, I'm glad it's finishing at the next pay-per-view. Now, it was pretty much the same as all the other matches they've had recently, with pretty much the same winners. Luke Harper and Eric Rowan. This is what got them that advantage. And then Eric Rowan would come in, hit the double axe handle, and then hit his finisher for the victory. They celebrated as normal after. As usual, a few questions. Will Roman Reigns be prepared for any more sneak attacks from Randy Orton? Will this tag team implode like all others before them? Will Mojo Rawley and Bam Bam Bigelow become best friends? Will Big Show's bollocks still be sore next time? And will these two be stealing the show at Money in the Bank? Find out next time on What Happened on My Universe Mode. Like and subscribe.